Okay, so picture this. Your everyday stuff, like even a plain old paperclip or some grease from the kitchen, suddenly become like secret weapons in a hidden war.
Wow. That's a pretty interesting image.
Right. That's exactly the kind of thinking we're going to dive into today.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're looking at this historical document, the Simple Sabotage Field Manual.
Simple Sabotage Field Manual.
Yeah, it was created by the U.S. Office of Strategic Services back in January 1944.
1944, so World War II.
Exactly. And you've always been fascinated by like unconventional strategies and how individuals can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely. Love that stuff. Underdog stories, unexpected tactics, all of it.
This is going to be right up your alley then. Because this manual, it's all about how seemingly small, almost insignificant actions can actually have a huge impact, especially when lots of people are doing them.
Okay, so we're talking about like a collective effort of small acts disrupting something bigger.
Exactly. And the Simple Sabotage Field Manual is our main source for this deep dive.
So where did this manual come from? Who was it for?
So it was actually intended for regular citizens living in enemy-occupied territories during the war.
Okay, so not for soldiers, but for everyday people.
Yeah, and thanks to Project Gutenberg, we can access it today.
Wow, that's pretty amazing that we can just read something like that now.
I know, right? It's a real window into the past. And what it does is it provides instructions on how people could use everyday things to, disrupt the enemy's war effort.
So it's like a guide to everyday sabotage.
Basically, yeah. And what we're going to do today is unpack the core principles behind it, the specific techniques they suggest, and try to understand the thinking behind it all.
So like, how did they think these small acts could be so effective?
Right, and what kind of mindset were they trying to foster in these, what they call citizen saboteurs?
Citizen saboteurs, I like that. So let's start with the philosophy behind all of this.
Okay, so the manual really focuses on the ordinary citizen saboteur.
So again, not trained spies or anything like that.
Nope. Regular folks, factory workers, office employees, you name it. And their strength lay in their access to like totally mundane stuff.
Like the things they had around them every day.
Exactly. And they outline two main approaches to this simple sabotage.
Okay, two approaches. What are they?
First, there's actual physical destruction using stuff you could find anywhere.
Like what? Give me some examples.
They list things like salt, nails, candles, even stuff like pebbles or thread.
Really? Pebbles and thread. What could you do with that?
Well, we'll get into the specifics later, but the point is they saw these everyday items as potential weapons in this like silent war,
Hmm.
and their targets, things they had access to as part of their daily routines.
Okay, makes sense. So that's physical sabotage. What's the second approach?
The second one, and this is where it gets really interesting, is what they call non-cooperative attitudes.
Non-cooperative attitudes. What's that all about?
It's about using, well, basically human nature to your advantage, like making bad decisions on purpose, being unhelpful, even encouraging others to do the same.
Oh, so like intentionally messing things up.
Yeah, pretty much. They talk about things like putting stuff in the wrong place, misunderstanding instructions, just generally being obstructive.
So basically turning everyday annoyances into acts of resistance.
You got it. And they point out that this kind of behavior, it actually causes problems even in normal times, right? Like accidents, delays, just general inefficiency.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Right. So the idea was to identify those margins for error, as they call it, and exploit them.
Okay, so amplify the little mistakes and inefficiencies that already exist.
Precisely. And the overall goal, to slow down the enemy's war effort.
By wasting their resources, their time, their manpower.
Exactly. Think about the cumulative effect. One flat tire, it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. But thousands of flat tires across an entire occupied territory, that's a problem.
Right, it throws a wrench in the whole system. And the same goes for delays, messed up paperwork, all those little things.
And beyond that, the manual talks about some other goals, like harassing and demoralizing enemy officials.
Oh, so it's not just about the practical effects, but also the psychological impact.
Right. They figured that constant minor annoyances could really wear people down.
Makes sense. Death by a thousand paper cuts. Yeah.
Exactly. And they also hoped that these little acts of sabotage could inspire people to, maybe even take bigger risks later on.
So starting small, building confidence, and then potentially leading to more organized resistance.
That's the idea. And the final secondary goal, fostering a sense of like solidarity with the Allied forces among the people living in occupied territories.
Ah, so even small acts of sabotage could be a way for people to feel like they're actively fighting back?
Exactly. But here's the thing. How do you motivate someone to do this?
That's a good question. I mean, dulling a tool or misfiling a document, it doesn't exactly sound like a heroic act.
Right, and it might even go against someone's like natural work ethic. So the manual gets into the psychology of motivation.
Okay, so how do they approach that?
They realize that abstract ideas like freedom or liberty, while important, might not be enough to get everyone on board.
Right, those are big concepts.
So they suggested focusing on concrete local benefits.
So things that would directly impact people's daily lives.
Yeah, like getting rid of a hated official, changing unfair rules, stuff like that.
Make it personal, make it real.
Exactly. And because one act of sabotage might not seem like much, they emphasized making people feel like part of something bigger.
Like a secret network of saboteurs.
Right, even if they couldn't actually see it. They suggested using propaganda, hinting that certain sabotage techniques were working in other places.
So creating the illusion of widespread success to encourage participation.
Exactly. And they also stressed personal responsibility. Like, if you're doing this, teach others how to do it too.
So it spreads like a ripple effect.
Exactly. They even framed these acts as self-defense, a way to fight back against the enemy. And get this, they even recommended using humor.
Humor in the sabotage manual.
Yeah, to make the whole thing less scary, less daunting.
Okay, that's actually pretty clever.
Right. And then there's this key concept, reverse thinking.
Others thinking.
Yeah, they basically told people to flip their usual way of thinking.
Like instead of keeping tools sharp, let them get dull.
Exactly. Don't lubricate things properly. Be careless in specific ways.
So look for ways to make things worse, not better.
Right. And they argue that this shift in mindset, it actually opens up tons of opportunities for sabotage.
I see. Like suddenly everything you do becomes a potential target.
Precisely. And they understood that not everyone had the same skills.
So different approaches for different people.
Yeah, for those without technical training, they provided clear step-by-step instructions.
Like sabotage for dummies.
Kinda, yeah. But for people with technical expertise, the goal was to get them thinking creatively about how to use their knowledge for sabotage.
So sparking ideas, encouraging them to think outside the box.
Exactly. And they also dedicated a lot of space to safety measures.
Because getting caught would obviously be a huge problem.
Absolutely. They suggested using innocent-looking materials, doing things that could be blamed on anyone.
So making it hard to track down the culprit.
Exactly. And if you did something that could be traced back to you, have a believable excuse ready.
Even if it's a little flimsy.
Yeah, and they even suggested playing dumb.
Like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. And the classic advice, don't hang around after you've sabotaged something.
Unless it's your workplace, of course.
Right, then we gotta play it cool. And that brings us to tools, targets, and timing.
Okay, so the nitty-gritty of actually doing this stuff.
They knew that this kind of sabotage, it couldn't be super controlled or precise.
Because you're relying on so many individuals acting independently.
Exactly. But they did provide some general guidelines, like adapt the suggestions to your local area.
So use what you have available.
Right. And when choosing targets, prioritize things that will hurt the enemy's materials and manpower.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what kind of targets are we talking about?
They encouraged people to be creative. Like there's this example. Pulverize an emery knife sharpener to get emery dust.
Emery dust.
Yeah, it's a really fine abrasive, can mess up machinery pretty good.
Wow, so even something as simple as that could be a tool for sabotage.
Exactly. But they also cautioned against doing things you're not qualified for.
Like, don't try to handle explosives if you don't know what you're doing.
Right, stick to what's safe and accessible. They said to focus on things the enemy was currently using or would be using soon.
So disrupt their immediate operations.
Yeah, stuff like heavy industry products, fuels, lubricants. But they specifically said to avoid messing with food crops unless you really knew what you were doing.
Probably didn't want to risk harming the local population.
Yeah, that makes sense. And of course, military stuff was always a high priority target.
If you had access to it.
Right. And timing was important too. They said under normal circumstances, focus on hindering industrial production.
So disrupt their supply chains over time?
Yeah, a long-term strategy. But before or during an Allied offensive, the priority shifted to more immediate disruption.
Like targeting transportation, communication, essential supplies.
Exactly, things that would cripple the enemy in the short term.
So a shift from long-term weakening to short-term paralysis.
Exactly. Okay, so ready for some specific examples?
Bring it on. This is where it gets real.
So they talked a lot about buildings, like warehouses, offices, that kind of thing.
Easy to access, lots of potential for damage.
Right. They gave detailed instructions on starting fires, using stuff like candles and paper.
To destroy supplies, or even better, important documents.
Yeah, they even suggested ways to make accidental fire hazards, like not cleaning up oily waste properly.
Oh, and I remember reading about that thing with the illuminating gas in a candle.
Yeah, that one's a little more extreme, but they did mention it.
Definitely not for amateurs.
They also suggested causing water damage, like messing with sprinkler systems or blocking plumbing.
Oh, and I like that trick with the coins to overload electrical circuits.
Yeah, simple but effective.
So moving on from buildings, what about industrial sabotage?
Oh, they had tons of ideas for that. Starting with basic tools.
Okay, so like wrenches, hammers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they said to let tools get dull, twist saw blades, basically mistreat them so they break.
Or overload them so they wear out faster.
Exactly. And they stressed how vulnerable power tools are to dirt and debris.
Especially in the lubrication points and electrical contacts.
Right. Which brings us to oil and lubrication systems.
The lifeblood of any machine.
They had a whole list of ways to mess those up. Putting abrasive stuff in the oil, damaging filters, diluting it with other liquids.
Or using the wrong kind of oil.
Yep. And they even suggested putting stuff like hair or bugs in the oil.
Yeah, that's gross. But I guess it would work.
And for cooling systems, they said to use things like grains or sawdust to clog them up.
Or dump cold water into a hot engine.
Yeah, that'll cause some damage.
What about fuel?
Oh, they had a field day with that.
Yeah.
Putting sawdust in gas tanks, using sugar to gum up the engine. Yeah, apparently it turns into caramel when it burns and messes everything up.
Wow, who knew?
They also talked about adding sand or metal dust to the fuel, diluting it with water, that kind of thing. And for diesel engines, again, using the wrong fuel.
So basically anything to contaminate the fuel and cause problems.
Exactly. And then there was the more dangerous stuff, like causing leaks near exhaust pipes.
The start fires.
Yeah. And even potentially causing explosions in gas storage rooms.
Okay, that's getting a little scary.
Yeah, definitely not for the average citizen saboteur.
What about electric motors and transformers?
Those were a bit trickier, but they still had some ideas, like overloading motors, getting dust and moisture into the electrical parts.
And for three-phase motors, they talked about messing with the fuses.
Yeah, and for transformers, contaminating the oil or blocking the ventilation.
So basically make them overheat and fail.
Right. Then there were turbines, which are tougher to sabotage because they're so well built.
But they did suggest causing leaks or introducing damaging materials during maintenance.
Yeah, and for boilers, they said to operate them inefficiently or let them run dry.
And add water with lots of lime to create buildup.
Exactly. And they even had some ideas for sabotaging metal production.
Like making blast furnaces shut down more often.
And creating faulty castings.
So the metal wouldn't be usable.
Right. But for other types of metals, they just said, no suggestions available.
Huh, interesting. So what about mining?
They focused mainly on coal mines, suggesting things like putting out safety lamps.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Yeah, and messing with the pneumatic picks so they break.
And blocking the movement of minecarts.
Yep. And a simple one, sending up useless rock with the coal.
Just to waste their time and effort.
Exactly. For agriculture, it was mostly about damaging farm machinery.
And maybe spoiling crops or feeding them to animals.
But only if there was already enough food or the enemy was taking it.
Right, so as not to hurt the local people. Okay, let's talk transportation.
That was a big one, starting with railways.
Vital for moving troops and supplies.
For passengers, they suggested making things as inconvenient as possible.
Like ticketing errors, bad food, lost luggage.
Yep, just general annoyances. And for the actual railway system, they had all sorts of ideas.
Like messing with the signals, damaging the tracks.
Yeah, swapping wires, loosening bolts, even spreading salt on electrical connections to cause shorts when it rained.
And don't forget, sabotaging the brakes.
Of course. And they also talked about automotive transportation.
Cars and trucks.
Yeah, creating road hazards, giving bad directions, and then similar sabotage techniques for the vehicles themselves.
Messing with the oil, the fuel, the battery, the tires.
Exactly. And they had some specific tips on damaging batteries without it being obvious.
Sneaky.
And for water transportation, they suggested spreading rumors about dangerous waterways.
And navigating really slowly to cause delays.
Or even running barges aground.
And for bigger ships, messing with the compass or damaging cargo.
Communication was another target. For telephones, it was things like delaying calls, giving wrong numbers, cutting people off,
And making prank calls to waste their time.
and damaging equipment. For telegraphs, delaying messages and garbling them.
For mail, delaying delivery and sending it to the wrong place.
And even for movies, they had
Like
suggestions.
the projectionist showing the film badly.
And people in the audience being disruptive.
They even suggested releasing moths into the theater.
That's a new one. And for radio, they said to overmodulate the signal to cause interference.
And blow fuses in your own house to create more interference.
And then, of course, electric power.
The backbone of any modern society.
Tampering with turbines, motors, transformers, just like in industrial sabotage. And for power lines, loosening insulators and causing shorts.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of physical sabotage. What about that organizational stuff we talked about earlier,
Ah, yes. The art of bureaucratic warfare.
where inefficiency is the weapon?
They had a whole list of tactics for that. Insisting on following every rule to the letter, giving long, pointless speeches, sending everything to committees.
Deliberately bringing up irrelevant topics, arguing over minor details.
Basically, being a bureaucratic nightmare.
And for managers, it was things like demanding written orders for everything, misunderstanding instructions, delaying things, creating fake shortages,
Ordering hard-to-get materials, prioritizing unimportant tasks.
rewarding bad work, and punishing good work.
The opposite of what you'd normally do.
And for office workers, it was making errors, prolonging correspondence, misfiling documents, not making enough copies.
And then spreading rumors.
And for regular employees,
Work slowly, create interruptions, pretend you don't understand anything.
blame your tools, hide your skills, cause administrative chaos.
And finally, some general tips for lowering morale and sowing confusion.
Like giving long, confusing explanations, reporting fake spies,
Acting dumb, picking fights, misunderstanding rules on purpose, complaining about everything.
ostracizing collaborators, boycotting propaganda.
So what can we take away from all this?
Well, I think it's clear that this manual, even though it was created for a very specific time and place, it still has a lot to teach us about how systems can be disrupted.
Right, and how small actions, when multiplied across many people, can have a surprisingly big impact.
It's a reminder that even the most powerful adversary has vulnerabilities.
And those vulnerabilities might not be where you expect them to be.
It's about thinking creatively, understanding how things work, and then exploiting those weaknesses.
So for everyone listening, we want you to think about this. What does this manual tell you about the systems you interact with every day?
Your workplace, your community, even the larger social structures.
What are their weaknesses? How could they be disrupted, intentionally or unintentionally?
Do we pay enough attention to the cumulative effect of small inefficiencies and disruptions?
The full Simple Sabotage Field Manual is available online if you want to delve deeper. We highly recommend it.
It's a fascinating piece of history, and it might just change the way you look at the world around you.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive on the deep dive.